Hello class. Today we didn't get time to finish our student class. We didn't get time to talk about the toString method. So let's quickly open our project. We are working on OOP project. I'm gonna open this with my IntelliJ IDEA. Right click on that. I'm gonna open it with IntelliJ IDEA community version. Okay. And also we are going to talk about how to work with local date and time in Java, so that it's gonna help you with your assignment. Um, I think our student class is almost complete. Let's take a look. This is how we normally design a class or an object using object-oriented principle. The first principle we learned, which was data hiding and designing the class, the encapsulation, right? So we have our private fields. We have our constructors, the different overload of the constructor, and we also provided the public getters and setters so that outside world can access and interact with our private or hidden data, right? They can set the data and access the data the way we want. We also defined a function to print the student information, right? And have some helper functions for validation. These are private methods. It's almost like we are working on that, almost done, but we are going to talk about the toString method. What is toString method? It's a way to have a string representation of the object. Right now, if I go to main method, here we created two student object, right? Student 1 and student 2. Let's say we have this print student information. I'm going to comment out this one. If I want to pass the student objects inside a system.out.println function, if I press Ctrl P, see, it can accept the primitive types, and it can accept a string type and print that. But what if I print this variable name, this reference variable name, right? What type is this variable? It's of type student. It's our own type. It's our own user-defined type, right? If I pass it to println, let's see what happens. We know that println easily can print a string value, right? But what about this object? What about this reference variable, okay, of type student? If I have int x equal to 10, it can easily print x, right? It prints 10. Or if I have a string value, it can easily print that. But what happens if I want to print my object 10, right? Let's see what happens if I print a student 1 or a student 2. Press Ctrl D. Let's print two reference variable of type student we have. See, it gives us this value. It gives us the location, the package where the class is located, the name of the class, add at, and this number, okay? It doesn't print anything specific or meaningful about our object. We can define the toString method inside our object or inside the class, student class, to have a string representation of our object. However we want to represent our object in a form of a string, we can do that using the string representation, the toString method, okay? We can define the toString method. The toString method comes from object class. Remember I told you everything in Java is object. We define our own class, our own type, student type. This class is by default inherit from the object class. So all the built-in and user-defined objects are inheriting from the object class, okay? Object is a class in Java. Let's take a look to the object class. There's a class called object. It's a built-in class, comes from java.lang package. If I click here, I'll press Control and go to the definition of this class. click on the name, it takes me to the definition of this class. See, this is a class, public class object. This is the base or the root for all the classes in Java. Everything inherits from this class. See, if you read the definition, the documentation, class object is the root of the class hierarchy in Java, right? Every class has object as its superclass. It's the superclass of all the objects, all the classes, right? It has methods that we can inherit inside our own user-defined classes. One method is like hash code. We have one method, toString. Let me find the toString. I'm gonna press Control F right here and search for toString. Right, this is the documentation about the toString method. What it says: returns a string representation of the object. Right now we couldn't print our object. It prints something like this, but if we want to print it as a string the way we want, however we want to represent our object, we can define the toString inside our class. Public string toString. This is a method, right? It represents our object in the form of a string. So let's define this toString or override this toString inside our student class. If I go in our student class definition, this is our student class definition. We have the fields, the setters. I'm gonna leave these commands for your reference. The helper method. At the end, I'm gonna define the toString method. What is toString method? Let me quickly put a quick definition here for you so that you can refer to that. The toString method is used to get a string representation of an object, right? So let's define that or override this object, that method. The signature was public. It has a return type of a string. The name was to a string like this, okay? So this is the body of the string, the toString method. Inside the body, we are going to return a string. Whatever string we return, that's going to be the string representation of our object. So let's return a string here. This is the string representation of student class. Let's see. Now, if we print the student reference variable here inside the system.out.println, it's going to print whatever we return from the toString method, right? See, this is the string representation of the student class. Whatever string we want to return, and if we give it to println, or if we want to write our object to a file or to a database, whatever, like this way our object will be represented, right? We don't want to represent our object like this. We want to give it a meaningful string representation. Let's go to student class. I will return, instead of that, I will return like let's say student ID. I will print the ID plus this dot ID, okay? Then I will add a new line, right? Then I will add student ID. Then we have this dot ID is these fields. We have first name, last name, email, major. Let's go and print other information about the student. Return it as string. Student first name plus this dot first name plus I want to add a new line at the end, right? Student last name plus this dot last name and let's add another new line. However we want to represent our object, right? So I'm gonna add student major class this dot major, right? See what else we want to print. You can print everything, so I'm gonna just print one more field, then leave the rest for you. How about we print the courses enrolled, and we print if it's active, print the student is active, otherwise print inactive, right? Let's print the courses enrolled. You can print everything. Just go ahead and complete this toString method. Let's add a new line here. \n new line. So courses enrolled. I'm gonna use arrays dot toString. This has also toString. See, it takes an object, an array, and return a string of that. Enrolled courses. Let's put at this also. This dot enrolled courses. That's it, I believe. Now let's see. We just want to represent these information about our object. You can complete the other member variables. If we want to print it now, it's going to print our object like this, okay? If we go to main, print student 1 and student 2. See? Student 1 ID is 104, name is Wahid, Rahimi, major is CS, these courses. Student 2 has ID 10. Let me put a new line between them. So student 2 has ID 10, name is unknown because we haven't provided anything here. We call the default constructor, right? Every value or set to default value. Unrelated, enrolled courses, or like empty. We can also use the setter method to set some values. For example, if I want to set the name, if I want to set the last name, first name, and let's set the courses, right? Now if we print student 2, it's gonna print this information. See, the courses, the major is, we didn't set it, it's set to default. Last name is John, first name is Sarah, and ID is 10. Okay, this was the toString method. However, we want to represent our object as a string, we can override the toString method, right? We did it manually, but if you want the compiler to do it, the compiler also can do it, the IDE. So let's go and press Alt and Z. It's automatically going to generate the code for us. Or press Alt and Z, or go to this hamburger button here, code, generate code, or Alt and Z, right? We can generate constructor, getter only, setter only, equals, and hash code. We haven't talked about these two methods. Here we see we have a toString representation of our object. Let's click that. It says, do you want to provide a toString method for all the fields or specific fields? We want to have it for all the fields. Okay, let's click OK and see it provides an annotation at override. Means this class comes from its superclass. It's the student's superclass is object class, and we override the toString. So this toString method is already in the superclass or its parent class. We override that. We redefine it in our class. So this is one concept of inheritance that we are going to learn next week. Okay, we inherit from the object class and we override the methods of its parent. Okay, so this toString comes from its parent and we override that. We redefine it. So the compiler gives us this representation of the object. You can change it like the way you want to. Like it prints a student and this curly braces and all the fields. Okay, you can change it if you want, or you can leave it like that. So this way we can override the toString method. Let's click, see, now it represented in one line a student object. The ID is 104, is student 1. First name is Wahid, last name is Rahimi, all the information about the student. So this is the string representation of the object. It doesn't have it doesn't have new lines. That's why it prints everything in one line. You can change it if you want. Student 2, type is a student, ID is 10, first name is unknown, last name is unknown, email is like not set, major is unrelated, all the default values, right? So this was all about the toString method. Now let's talk about how we can work with date and time in Java. So for that, I will click create a new package. Let's call it date time. I'm gonna create a class here, my date time. Okay, how we can work with date and time in Java. Let's quickly see that. So we have 3 classes mainly to work with date and time in Java. I'm gonna provide a main method. The first class we have local date, local time, and local date and time. See, 3 classes. If we work with only local only date, like year, month, and day, we can use the local date time that comes from java.time package. Previous to Java 8, we had the date class and the calendar class. Those were like kind of confusing and error prone. These date that comes from java.util, it's also not thread safe. Local date and time, those are thread safe. These are also not thread safe. These are confusing and also error prone, right? We have, I think we had calendar. Yeah, calendar that comes from java.util. We could work with these 2 classes, but these are deprecated. The modern way of working with date and time in Java is using this local date and time, local date, and we also have local time. If we want to work with date and time at the same time, have date and time, we can use this class. If you want to work with only date, we have the local date for that. But if you want to work with only time, we have local time for that. If you learn these 3 classes, then you will be pretty good in a good shape to work with any time values in Java. Okay, let's quickly learn about working with time with date. Then we will work with time and look at date and time. Okay, this class gives us to work with only date values like year, day, and month. Okay, let's call it today. We want to create, this is a class, an object, right? We want to create an object of that, a reference variable of that. If we go to the definition of this one, see, it's a public final class. You can read about documentation. It's a weather time zone. Okay, provides like fields and methods, like we can work with year, month, day. Local date dot now gives us the current date. Okay, we have many overload of this now method, and this local date dot off method, we can create a date of a year, given day, and given month. We can create a date out of that. Okay, so let's create an object of that. Today equal to local date dot class dot now. Okay, see, it returns a local date type. Why we directly access this method through the class name? Because this method is a what? Let's go to the definition of this method. This is a static method. Remember what we said? Static methods belong to the class. We can access the static method directly with the class name. We don't have to create an object of that. Okay, that's why this method is defined as a static. This belongs to the class and we can access that through the class name. But here, if we go to our student, see, first we created, if we go to main, first we created an object of a student, student2. Then using this object, we could access the non-static methods. If we go to set ID, set ID is a non-static method. We cannot directly access that using the class name. We can access that using the object name. If we go to set ID is not static. See, public void, not static. Non-static member variables and member methods belong to object, but static member variables or methods belong to class. Okay, non-static can only be called or accessed using the object of the class. Here we create an object of the class, then using the object or the reference variable, we can access those non-static members. But for static members, we don't need to create an object. We can directly access them using the class name. So we are accessing that directly using the class name. We don't have to create an object of local date today equal to new local date and using today.now. We don't have to do that because now is a static method, right? So if I print today, it's going to print as a date. Let's see how it looks like. I'm gonna run it. See, 2026 01 15. This is the date, but we say we don't want this format. Normally in US we show the date like first we give the month 01 like slash or dash, then the day which is 15, then the year like 2026. We want this format, but the default format in Java is this one. We don't want that. We can also change this format using the datetime formatter. Another class provided by Java is called datetime formatter. Time formatter. I think, yeah, it's formatter. Let's call it date formatter. Formatter equal to datetime. It also has static method, I think, of pattern. See, the time formatter, the class name, then a static method name of pattern. Which pattern we want? We want it this way. Like first we want month, double M, which stands for month, slash or dash, however we want that. We want a slash, then day, double D, then 4-digit year, like, or 2-digit year, double Y. Let's say we want 4-digit year like this, 2026, right? So we want to apply this format to our date. We can do that using date formatter. Once we create a date formatter, so I'm gonna cat this one and put it above. So we got the date. Now we can apply the format, right? So I'm gonna leave this here. Let's apply the format here. Today dot format. See, it has a format method. It accepts a datetime formatter. We created a datetime formatter here, right? Let's pass our datetime formatter. What was the name of our datetime formatter? Datetime formatter. Let's pass this one here and put a semicolon, and let's print today. This out today. Okay, this object. Here it doesn't have a format, but here we gave it a format. So it is what it is, non-changeable, like immutable. Datetime objects are immutable. We cannot change that. Whenever we apply or change the object, it returns as a new object. So we are going to reassign the value. Okay, today equal to this. I think it returns a a string representation of the date time formatter. Let's see. It returns a string representation. Like we can catch it in a string variable, a string today, or let's call it formatted date equal to this, and we can print our formatted date. So it changed the type of the value, like the type from local date to string. Okay, this function, if we hover over that, it returns a string. See, public string format. It accepts a date formatter and returns a string. Okay, we catch it or store it in a string variable and print it over here. Let's do that. See, our date is formatted 01, 15, 20, 26. If you want to give it a different format, we can do that. Let's say we want, instead of slash, we want dash here. Instead of 4-digit year, we want 2-digit year. We can give any format we want. See, 01-15, 26. Okay, I'm gonna comment out these for now. So since this is an object of the class, we know class have attributes and behaviors, like, so this object or reference variable or the class local date provides some valuable attributes and methods. Let's see what methods it has. Let's say today, which is a local date object, dot, using the dot notation. See, we get bunch of like methods. Is after, we can check if this date is after another date, compare it with another date. Minus year, subtract a number of year from this date, like minus all these dates. Like we can get the year, say given a date, we can get only the year, and let's say get year, I think returns an integer, I think. Yeah, it returns an integer. Let's call it int year equal to today.get year. If we want to extract only the year, we can use the get year method. Print year. So the year is 2026, right? Same way we can get the month. Let's see. I'm gonna press Ctrl D. And month equal to today that get month, I think, get month value, right? It returns a integer, and we also have get month, which returns the name of the month, like January, February, March, April. This returns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 12. This returns the name of the month. Okay, if I get the month and let's print the month here, we get just one. Let's call the other method Control D, get month. What does it return? It returns a month, but we have a month class, I think. Here, let's call it month. We have a month class that comes from Java.time, but let's give it another name. Let's call it month 2, and if we want to print month 2, it should give us January, I believe. Yeah, January, right? We can extract the year, the month, or days of the month, like how many days in the month. Let's see. I'm gonna say int days of the month equal to today, the date object dot get days of the month, it returns an integer, yeah, and we can print that days of the month, right? What it gives us, we are at day 15, right? We can also get like day of the week, I believe. Today that get day of week, day of week. We have the int. If you want to get the int value, I believe it's 0 up to 7 or 6, and we can get a day of the week. It returns a day of the week object. We can store it in a day of the week object. Let's get day of the week, and let's define the variable day of the week, day of the week, and let's print that. Day of the week, right? Let's see which day is it. I think it's Friday. Is it Friday? It's Thursday. Okay, so this way we can work with a date in Java. Like we can do like a lot of things. Like we can do perform some arithmetic operation on that. Say we have today, and we want to add like 2 years to our date. We can say plus year plus days plus months, and we want to add 2 years to our date and see what date we get. If we add 2 years to that plus, we can also add like days. Say we want to add 20 days, 2 year 20 days to this date, and let's see what it returns. If I introduce to a local date, like let's call it future date, right? We added 2 year and 20 days to today's date, and let's print that future date. Let's see what we get. I'm gonna comment out these, okay? So we get 2028, this one. If you want to format that, where's our formatter? Let's give it 4 year. I like this format, slash, and let's format our date dot format and our date formatter. After 2 year and 20 days, we will get this date. It will be March February 4 2028, right? We can do all sort of thing. Go ahead and research about that. We can check if a date is after or before a date. Useful other functions, like they say today dot is after. We can give another date to check if this date is after that specific date or it's before that. All sorts of thing we can do with date object. Okay. We can check if a date is a leap year, like today that is leap year, it returns boolean true or false. Okay. I think that's all about date, and we also have local date and time, also time. This was all about date. Let's talk about local time. Gonna comment out. Working with time. For that, time only, right? We don't want to work with date. So for that, we have local time, I think. That comes from Java. Let's call it now. Or let's call it now equal to local time dot now. Okay. It gives us let's see what we get. If we print now, we get at 22, which is 10 o'clock, 8 minutes, 11 seconds, and these number of milliseconds. Okay. We can also format our time using, I believe, local date time, look, date time formatter was a date time formatter. Let's call it time formatter equal to date time formatter dot of pattern. Say we wanna have hour, then I believe minute, then second. Let's say we don't want to print the millisecond, and let's format our object dot format, and let's pass it our time formatter. Okay, let's see what it prints. Yeah, it prints like 10 o'clock, 9 minute and 6 second, right? And if we want to print AM or PM, we can pass a space A. Here it's going to print the AM or PM also. So it's 10 PM, right? But if you want it's 12-hour format, but if you want 24-hour format, I think we should pass double H here, double capital H, right? I believe it will give us 24-hour format, like 22 is 10 o'clock, right? We also have methods like south. We can get now dot get hour gives us the hour, which is 22. Get the minute. I don't like 24-hour format. I'm gonna give it 12-hour format. We can get hour, get minute, get second, all sort of thing, right? Get minute. Right now the hour is 22. Why 22 again? I believe it gives us the 24-hour format. Okay, the minute is 10, and we can get the second also, right? We can also like add or perform arithmetic operation on that. Say we want to like say now is out, now dot add. Say we want to now dot, we have plus or add plus, yeah, plus hour. So we want to add like 8 hour to current time, or also plus minutes. So we want to add 8 hour, 15 minute and second to current time, and let's see what we get. So after 8 hour, 14 minutes, 15 minutes is going to be 6:26, right? And let's format that also. If we want to format that, format our time formatter, we can format it, see what we get. It's going to be 6:26:35 AM, right? 6 o'clock in the morning. So we can perform all sort of operation on our time. We also have, if you want to work with both date and time at the same time, we have another class for that. So this was only for time, this was only for date. But if you want, our requirement is to work with date and time at the same time, we can use local, I believe local date time class. Excuse me, let's call it now equal to local date time dot now. See what we get. It's out now. We get this format, and this is the time. This is not a good readable format. We can give a format to our date. Let's define a date time formatter. Date time formatter. Let's call it date time formatter equal to date time formatter dot of pattern. Say we want month slash day slash 4-digit year. We want a space for the hour. We want 12-hour format, minute, then second, I believe AM or PM. And if we want to apply the format pass date time formatter. It should print this format, I believe. Yeah, see, now it's more readable. We have January 15, 2026. The time is 10:13:35 p.m. Right? We can perform all sort of like arithmetic operation on that. I believe that should be all. Let me put some notes here. I'm gonna add some notes about the different formats, maybe down below here or up here. Go ahead and read that. So I hope it is going to help you with your assignment. Other important method of these classes is like if we have the year, say the day or the month, we can create an object of that, right? For that, let's say int year equal to, imagine we take these values from the user or read it from a file or read it from an API or whatever. So I'm gonna hard code it now. Let's say we have year as 2010. Let's say we have int month. Let's give it 10. Month equal to 10. Let's give it int day equal to 12. Okay, we can create a date object out of these values. Let's say local date equal to, let's call it date equal to, I believe we have dot off. Yeah, see, this off method accepts an integer year, integer month, integer day of the month, right? And it gives us local date object. Let's create a local date object. We pass year, we pass month, and we pass day. So we got a date object out of these values, right? These values say it comes from an API or you read it from a file, you get it from user. So we can create a date out of that and work with, like, now we got the object of local date. We can do anything we want with it. Let's say we can print it. It's out date. If we print that, so we have an object, we can format it, we can perform all sorts of arithmetic operation on that, whatever we want, right? Let's see, how can you find, now that you know everything, can you guys find the age of a person if a person gives you his or her date of birth? Can you try that? Like, say you want to prompt the user, let's say it's out, enter your date of birth. Let's read it as a string, or we can read it 3 times as an integer. If we read it as a string, say the user enters a date like maybe, what was the format? Let's say 2010 dash 10 12. How can we parse or read from a string? I believe there should be a method. Let's define it. A string. We know if we read it as integer, 3 times prompt the user and ask 3 values, read it as integer, we can easily create a date out of that, right? And we can calculate it is his or her age. But how about if the user enters as a string like this? If you want to take all his date of birth in one input, let's call it DOB equal to a string. Let's say if we can build a date object out of out of a string. I believe there should be local date DOB object equal to local date dot parse. Yeah, parse character sequence text. I believe this one should work. Let's pass our string DOB, and if I print DOB object, let's see what we get. I'm gonna comment out this one. Yep, we could successfully parse from a string. We can prompt the user to enter his or her date of birth in this format, or I believe, are we able to read it from a different format? Go ahead and try if we are able to read from this format, but for this moment we are going to read the date of birth in this format. Okay, let's quickly prompt the user is out, enter your date of birth in this format. So we're gonna give it the format month. I believe it's, is it, no, year, 4-digit year dash, I believe that's a month, and day, right, in this format. We want to accept the date of birth in this format. How can we accept that? Using a scanner. You guys know that. Let's define a scanner class. A scanner equal to new scanner, and we want to accept that from keyboard system.n. You guys all know that. Scanner dot next line, read a string, and we want to store it in a string DOB, user DOB, right? Once we got the DOB as a string, we can create a date out of it, a date object, because in a string format we cannot perform any operation, right? We cannot calculate his or her date of birth. We change it to a date, then we can perform sort of operations, right? Let's see. Once we got that, we're gonna create local date user DOB equal to new local date dot parse accepts a string DOB, right? This is string. Let's quickly print that your user DOB. I'm gonna run it very quick. So let's see, we wanna present 2008 dash month is like say 11 dash day is 15, right? If I print that, see, we could create a date out of that. Now that we have the date object, we want to perform calculate his age. How can we do that? So we are going to take the current date and subtract his date of birth from the current date, right? Now we have the user date of birth object. Let's create a local date current date equal to local date dot now. This is gonna give us the current date, and let's quickly print that also. Let's see what we get, if the format is the same or no. Current date, if I run that, let's enter 2009 11 12. Yeah, we get the same format. We have the year, the month, and the day. Now we got the two objects. How can we calculate the user date of birth? For that, we have another class in Java called period that calculates the amount of time between 2 days. We have the two date object. We can use the period class period, let's call it age equal to period dot between. See, it takes a local date start date and end date, I believe, between control P, end date and start date, right? Our start date is where? DOB, and end date is current date, right? So using this period, let's see, object age dot get, I believe, get days, get year, get month, everything, right? Let's print get year is out age dot get year. How old is she or he? How many years? Let's say 2009 dash 12 dash 12. So 16-year-old, right? Let's print a proper message. It's out. You are plus age dot get years plus space years plus age dot get days and let's put month here, years dot get, not age dot get months, call it this much months and this much day, right? Oh, let's run it. Let's enter a date of birth 2000, let's say 5, month 11, day 11. So you are 20 years old, 2 months and 4 days. Okay. This was a quick exercise on how to work with local date and time in Java, and see you in the class. Thanks so much.